The film Goltzius and the Pelican Company is based upon a real historical character who lived in southern Holland on the borders of Germany, what is now Belgium, and certainly Holland, who accrued a reputation all over Northern Europe, certainly, as a very capable engraver and printmaker. He was also his own business manager and took upon it himself to employ a company of engravers and image makers. They lived to a certain extent on the fringes of society, found it very difficult to find money, and our story concerns Goltzius on his travels, certainly to Alsace on the borders of the Holy Roman Empire, in order to encourage local princes to commission him to make prints, certainly prints that would be gathered together to make a book. The current interest at that time was indeed the very beginnings of using the printing press, which obviously for 100 years had already been used to manufacture text, but now the idea was to manufacture imagery. And by the nature of printing, that meant mass production. And it doesn't take very long to realize, and I certainly believe there's no point in making a historical film unless you can make a comment about the present, there is an identification that Goltzius as a printer in contemporary terms would have been a filmmaker. Very, very simply, the film really consists of six stories taken from the Old Testament, which are relevant to various sexual taboos. The first story is the story of Adam and Eve and voyeurism. The second is about Lot and his daughters, which concerns incest. The third one is about David and Bathsheba, which is a story of adultery. The fourth story is a story of pedophilia, the seduction of the young Joseph by Potiphar's wife. The fifth story, very famous probably of all these stories, is the story of Samson and Delilah, a story of prostitution. And the last one, a bit apocryphally, is the sexual taboo of necrophilia and concerns Salome and John the Baptist. The stories are offered in an ironic way, and maybe sometimes the actual visualization doesn't concur with certainly what the early Christian fathers would have thought of. But that's deliberate because the whole film, in a way, is about the interpretation of the image. I think also what is very important is to make sure that we make a film that's relevant to modern technology and is full of all sorts of devices which are gradually becoming very popular indeed in contemporary cinema and certainly contemporary television. But also is meant deliberately, I suppose, as an examination self-reflexively of cinema itself, whether cinema can be a pure activity, totally autonomously supported by its own language. So we have deliberately collected together practically every form of realization that can be apparent both past and future in terms of contemporary cinema. So here we have certainly painting, we certainly have theatre, and theatre of different types, didactic, lyrical and melodramatic. We would have our consideration of architecture. There would certainly be various forms of literary excitement. There's a lot of dance, there's a great deal of music, and also we've made an embrace, I suppose, of very contemporary activities, like the television of the talking head, about notions of digital animation, and we've also included calligraphy and topography. So it's meant to be a palimpsest to all the various forms and languages that make up what we could describe as being contemporary cinema.